In a forgotten corner of the countryside, nestled between rolling green hills and a whispering stream, lived a farmer named Arthur. But Arthur wasn't just any farmer. To the animals on his land, he was a friend, a guardian, and a true member of their family. His farm wasn't a place of labor, but a sanctuary of harmony. Every morning, Arthur didn't need an alarm clock. A gentle nudge from Bartholomew, his oldest and wisest cow, was all it took. Her soft, warm breath on his cheek was a better wake-up call than any ringing bell. As he'd step out into the crisp morning air, he wasn't greeted by a cacophony of demanding noises, but a symphony of happy welcomes. The chickens would cluck a soft greeting, not a frantic plea for food. The sheep would baa in chorus, their tails wagging like excited puppies. It was something far simpler. He listened. He understood that the sharp, repeated bleat from a Awe named Penelope meant her lamb had wandered too far. He knew the difference between a pig's happy snort and a grunt of discomfort. He could tell by the way a horse flicked its ears if it was content or anxious. He treated each animal not as livestock, but as an individual with its own personality, its own fears, and its own joys. He never used a harsh word or a heavy hand. When it was time to move the herd to a new pasture, he didn't drive them with shouts and prods. He would simply walk to the gate, open it, and call out, "Fresh grass, my friends." His hands, calloused from years of work, were always gentle, whether he was checking a hoof, stroking a feathered head, or scratching behind a furry ear. One summer, a fierce storm rolled in unexpectedly. The wind howled like a hungry wolf, and rain fell in blinding sheets. The animals were terrified. The horses neighed in panic, and the smaller creatures huddled together, trembling. But Arthur didn't run for the safety of his house. He went straight to the barn. He didn't shout commands or try to force them into their stalls. Instead, he sat down in the middle of the hay-strewn floor and began to hum a soft, steady tune. It was an old folk song his grandmother used to sing. Slowly, one by one, the animals were drawn to the calm in his voice. The horses stopped their frantic pacing and lowered their heads. The sheep gathered around him, their collective warmth a comfort against the storm's chill. Even the barn cats, usually so independent, came and curled up near his boots. In the heart of the tempest, Arthur's little barn became an island of peace. He stayed there all night, his voice a quiet anchor until the storm passed and the first rays of dawn painted the sky. His connection went beyond just his farm animals. The wild creatures of the surrounding woods also seemed to sense the kindness that radiated from him. Deer would graze calmly at the edge of his fields, unafraid. A family of foxes had their den near his property, and Arthur would sometimes leave out scraps for them, a silent treaty between man and wild. Birds would land on his shoulders as he worked, chirping their secrets into his ear. It was as if the entire ecosystem recognized him as a benevolent king of this small, green kingdom. One year, the county fair was approaching. Other farmers were busy grooming their prize animals, pushing them to look their best for the judges. They'd ask Arthur why he didn't enter. Bartholomew, whose coat was as sleek as polished mahogany, or his prize-winning rooster, who had the most magnificent plumage in the valley. Arthur would just smile and shake his head. "They're not trophies," he'd say. "They're family. Their happiness is the only prize I need." And they were happy. You could see it in the way they moved, the clarity of their eyes, the relaxed confidence they had in their world. They didn't know fear, only the changing of the seasons and the certainty of Arthur's care. When a lamb was born, he was the first one the mother would allow near. When an animal grew old and its time came to pass, Arthur would sit with it, whispering words of comfort until its last breath, grieving for a lost friend. Years passed, and Arthur grew older. His steps became slower, his back a little more bent, but his heart remained as kind and his hands as gentle as ever. The animals sensed the change in him. Bartholomew, now gray around her muzzle, would walk even more slowly to match his pace. The younger, more boisterous animals seemed to learn from their elders, showing a quiet respect for the man who had given them such a peaceful life. One sunny afternoon, Arthur sat on his favorite bench, overlooking the pasture. He was watching the lambs play, a contented smile on his face. Bartholomew came and rested her great head in his lap, and he began to stroke her, humming that same old folk song from the night of the storm. The chickens gathered at his feet, the dogs lay beside him, and a gentle peace settled over the farm. It was a perfect picture of harmony, a testament to a life lived with compassion. Arthur's story wasn't one of great wealth or fame. You wouldn't read about him in history books, but his legacy was written on the land itself, in the trust of the creatures who live there. His farm was more than just a piece of land with animals on it. It was a living, breathing example of how humans and nature can coexist in perfect, beautiful harmony. It was a reminder that sometimes the greatest treasures are not the ones we own, but the ones we love and care for. Thank you for joining me on this journey to Arthur's farm. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like and subscribe for more tales that celebrate the beautiful connections in our world. See you next time.